Imagine the life of a man who wakes up one morning feeling unwell, telling his wife he needs to leave work early. Nothing seems unusual, yet that day would change everything. Richard Hoagland, a devoted husband and father from Indiana, disappeared without a trace. No calls, no notes, no signs of where he went. For over 2 decades, his family believed he was dead, gone forever. But Richard wasn't lost. Instead, he was living a secret second life, under a different name, in a different state. This is the story of a man who vanished but never truly left. The morning he disappeared. July 1993, Indiana. The day started quietly, like any other. Richard kissed his wife Linda goodbye as he left for work. But that afternoon, he called her, saying he didn't feel well and was coming home early. His co-workers remembered him leaving, carrying nothing but a small bag. He got into his car and headed toward the airport, where his vehicle was later found, abandoned and empty. No tickets, no boarding passes, no witnesses. Just a car left behind, with no clues about his whereabouts. The local police launched an investigation, but without evidence, their search quickly stalled. Neighbors whispered theories. Maybe he'd run away. Maybe something worse had happened. But no body was ever found. Linda was left with a haunting question. Had he chosen to disappear? The uncertainty twisted the family's world, freezing them in a nightmare with no end. The family left behind. Linda was suddenly a single mother, forced to raise 2 young boys alone. She juggled grief and survival, paying bills on a single income and trying to hold her family together. Every holiday, every birthday was a reminder of the man who was missing. Friends offered sympathy, but none could fill the void. She clung to hope for years, holding on to the possibility that Richard would return. The boys grew up without their father's guidance, their lives shadowed by the unanswered questions of his disappearance. And while Linda eventually remarried, the past never left her, a ghost that followed her quietly behind every smile. A new identity in Florida. Far away in the sunny towns of Florida, a man named Terry Szymanski was building a new life. He was married, working steadily, and seemed to enjoy the quiet pace of his days. But Terry Szymanski had been dead for years, a fisherman who drowned in 1991, long before Richard vanished. Richard Hoagland had taken Terry's identity, using it as a shield to hide from his old life. He found Terry's obituary in a dusty library archive and chose his name carefully, someone with no close living relatives nearby. Using forged documents, Richard applied for a driver's license, opened bank accounts, and stepped fully into this new persona. For 23 years, he lived as Terry, a man who never raised suspicion, never revealed his secret. He blended into his community, made friends, and kept the past locked away, like a story told in whispers only he could hear. How he made it work. In the early 90s, before social media and smartphones, disappearing was easier. No GPS trackers, no online photo albums to trace. Richard's plan was simple but effective. He used old newspapers, public records, and libraries, places where history was kept on paper, not servers. He painstakingly recreated a new identity, memorizing details about Terry's life and answering questions as if he were someone else. He held down jobs, paid taxes, and filed paperwork, all to stay one step ahead. His ability to live 2 lives was more than a scam. It was a feat of survival. Every day was a balancing act, a tightrope walk between his old family and new, yet no one in Florida suspected a thing. He had become a ghost in plain sight. The discovery. But secrets have a way of unraveling. In 2015, a curious nephew of the real Terry Szymanski was researching their family tree. He stumbled on confusing records, marriage certificates, property deeds, all dated long after Terry's reported death. His questions led to a chain reaction. Law enforcement took notice. Authorities tracked the false identity to a small Florida home where Richard was living quietly as Terry. When officers knocked on his door, Richard did not run or deny the charges. Instead, he admitted the truth, saying simply, I'm not who you think I am. The fallout. The news shocked two families. Richard's second wife, unaware of his past, was stunned by the revelation. His first family was plunged into pain all over again, realizing the man they had mourned was still alive, but unreachable. Richard faced charges of identity theft and fraud, but legally abandoning a family is rarely punishable. His motives remain unclear. A man who walked away from everything only to build a secret world that shattered multiple lives. One of his sons said it best: "We buried a man who was still living, but we never truly knew him." What drives a person to vanish without a trace? Is it escape, fear, or something darker? How many other stories like Richard's are hidden in plain sight? Lives lived in shadows, identities stolen, secrets kept. This was a person who vanished, but his story reminds us that the past never really leaves us. It waits, quietly, to be discovered. If you're ready to uncover more stories like this, subscribe to The Life You Never Knew, because every life has a secret, and every secret tells a story.